Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Let's talk women's boxing. When I mention women's boxing, one name and one name only should be coming into your head, and that name is Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields is returning to the ring February 22nd to face the Diva, Franchon Crews-Dezurn. Now, both of these women, they have a historic past against each other. We can go back to their professional debut facing off against each other where Claressa Shields won, but it goes even further back. You see, in case you guys haven't realized, Claressa Shields is a two-time Olympic gold medalist. I know, shocker, the greatest women's boxer of all time is a two-time Olympic gold medalist. But would you be surprised to know, in case you haven't known, a little bit of fun fact, Franchon Crews-Dezurn is a two-time Olympian alternative, which means she was beat out from competing in the Olympics 2 times, and both of those times were against Claressa Shields. So both of these women have a history against each other. Both of these women have been in the ring with each other numerous times, where that's amateurs and professional combined. But both of these women, they've been supportive of each other throughout each other's career. They've been sparring and training with each other for prior fights. However, ever since Crews-Dezurn has taken this fight, it seems like tensions have risen. It seems like there's been a little bit of drama. Franchon Crews-Dezurn and Claressa Shields, they got into a very loud argument during their press conference. Franchon Crews-Dezurn telling her that she's not her saving grace, that she did not save her from the sport. And overall, they had a little bit of a back and forth. But I like to think both of these women still support each other. As a matter of fact, I know both of these women still respect each other. They admitted it in the press conference. And I like that this is a little bit of sister beef going on, I guess you could say. Both of them are pretty close to each other. Both of them got the history behind each other. So it makes for good entertainment. Whenever you have the drama, whenever you have the history that is part of the lead up to a fight, it makes it that much better. But with all that being said, enough of me yapping. We're here to talk about Claressa Shields versus Franchon Crews-Dezurn. And we are going to start off with the GWOAT, Claressa Shields. Now, when I went through the breakdown of Claressa Shields, obviously undefeated. She's fought some of the best women's boxers in boxing today. But when I look at the strengths that she has, if I have to point to one punch, I'm going to say it's a straight right. The straight right for me is probably her best punch. And it's a punch that she definitely relies on in a lot of her fights. Whether she's setting it up with a jab, whether she's using it as a counter, whether she's using it as a lead punch, that straight right is always a part of her game plan. And Claressa Shields has done a great job of establishing that straight right as her most dominant punch. She has a very solid jab. If you're going to point to 2 punches by Claressa Shields, it's going to be those 2 punches right there. The straight right and the jab. Those are going to be the 2 punches that Claressa Shields is going to look to use, and she's going to look to use them heavily. And I mean, as she should. Claressa Shields, look, everybody talks about how she doesn't have knockout power. But the thing is, that right straight, it got some power to it. When she hits you with that right, again, you're going to know about it. If she hits you with that straight right, she ends up backing up a lot of opponents, no matter who they are, no matter whether they're fast, whether they're big, whether they're strong, whether they're quick. It does not matter. If she hits them with that straight right, they're always going back. They're always on the defensive end. And it's because that punch is a very serious punch. It's a scary punch. And it's a punch that is definitely a punch that a lot of her opponents are going to have to look out for, especially Franchon Crews-Dezurn. Now, besides those 2 punches, what I like about Claressa Shields is she's always consistent to the body. Again, she's not looking to knock you out to the body, but she's always consistent in landing to the body. And the best thing about Claressa Shields is she's going to land to the body when you're so focused on protecting your head. When her opponents are so focused on protecting their head, she goes straight to that body, and she continues going straight to the body until they open up from the top. And that's what I like about Claressa Shields is she takes what's given to her. And a lot of time, these women aren't focused on their body, and Claressa Shields is just targeting it. And especially on the inside exchanges, Claressa Shields is a very good body puncher. She got some strong hooks. I mean, with the left or the right, regardless, she knows how to land that hook, but specifically the right hook. The right hook is the other punch that I would look at and I would point to and I would highlight as a punch that you got to watch out for when it comes to Claressa Shields. But then again, she could also hit you with the left hook, and that's what makes her so dominant as a woman boxer. That's what makes her so dominant as a future Hall of Famer, Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion, all these types of things. What makes her so dominant, she can use both of her hands. And on top of that, when she uses both of her hands, she's able to land effectively as well. She's very composed. She's not that type of fighter that's going to rush into something stupid. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been times where she's had some careless decisions. We're going to talk about that once we get to her weaknesses. But as far as her strengths, she's very composed. The best Claressa Shields is when she's waiting for her opponents to make mistakes. Is when her opponents throw a punch and she slips her, she moves out the way, she weaves, and she's able to capitalize. Claressa Shields is very composed in those moments, and when she's very composed, she is one of the scariest, if not the scariest, women's boxers of all time. She stands her ground. The thing about Claressa Shields is there's been moments where she's been pushed back. For the most of the part, wherever she wants to be in the ring, she's going to be in the ring. You're not going to push her back. If you're going to start throwing some punches against her, she's not automatically just going to go on the back foot and lean against the ropes, even though she is pretty good against those ropes. But the thing about Claressa Shields is she stands her ground. Again, if you're going to throw punches, she's going to throw some right back. She's going to make sure that she stands her ground. If she wants to take the middle of the ring, she's going to make sure that she stays in the middle of the ring. If she wants to stay on the ropes, she's going to make sure she stays on the ropes. She's not going to force you to force her to clinch. She's not going to force you to force her to run around the ring. She don't do that. Claressa Shields is going to stand in the one part of the ring that she wants to stand in. Whether that's the middle, the ropes, the corners, whatever it might be. Claressa Shields controls that ring, and she stands her ground 10 toes down. She's got some good defense, especially the slips. That's what I've noticed. She's very good with slips, very good with parries. Especially when she's on the rope, she's very good at using that Philly shell defense to deflect a lot of her opponent's punches, to kind of limit the amount of power that they pack on the punches. A perfect example is her fight against, I want to say, Laney Daniels. Laney Daniels was doing a lot of running around, but when Laney Daniels would start trying to tee off, she limited a lot of power on those punches. Another example is her fight against Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall had her in the corner or had her on the ropes, and she was able to limit some of the power on those punches. Claressa Shields is very good at doing that. She's very good at limiting power. And I think using those slips, using those parries, she's battle tested. I mean, I could point to Danielle Perkins, Laney Daniels. I can point to Hannah Gabriels, Savannah Marshall. There's so many fighters that Claressa Shields has fought. Franchon Crews-Dezurn. There's so many fighters that she's fought, and she constantly elevates herself, and she's constantly fighting the best. You know, whoever is a notable opponent, whoever is an opponent of worthy, she ends up fighting. Now, a lot of y'all are going to say, but Mario, what about Alicia Baumgartner? And to that, I say Alicia Baumgartner is 135 pounds. You're expecting an 135-pounder to fight a natural heavyweight woman boxer. It's not doable. So let's cross out Alicia Baumgartner's name for a second, okay? The only one she hasn't fought yet is Shay Canali, and I'm hoping that fight happens pretty soon. But regardless, Claressa Shields, her resume is set in stone. And there's so many other great women's boxers that she's fought as well. But her resume, you can't deny it. It is one of the best in women's boxing. It's one of the best in boxing history as far as women. And you got to give her a lot of credit. She's shown up against every single opponent, and she has battled them. And on top of that, she has a good amateur record as well. She's only lost one time in the amateur, 68-1. So in her entire boxing career, she's lost one time, and that one time was to Savannah Marshall, which she avenged. So technically, Claressa Shields has accomplished every single thing that she could possibly accomplish, and Claressa Shields has climbed every mountain. So she's definitely battle-tested. She got some fast hands. She's an aggressor. Usually she's the one pushing her opponents back. I mentioned how she likes to stand her ground. I've mentioned how she likes to stand her ground and how she's not moving for nothing. And a big advantage for that is when you're not moving, you're usually the aggressor. You're pushing your opponents back. And Claressa Shields does a very good job of that. The transition to heavyweight has been absolutely amazing for Claressa Shields, even though a lot of people are going to say, well, she's not knocking women out. She's not doing this. She's not doing that. The second she made that transition to heavyweight, she's had more knockdowns, and she's definitely established her power in the heavyweight division against boxers who are bigger than her. Specifically, Danielle Perkins. She did a great job with her. Vanessa LePage did a great job with her. She knocked out Vanessa LePage, a woman boxer who is bigger than her. So since she's made the transition to women's heavyweight boxing, she's been, in my opinion, the best she's looked in her entire career. And then last but not least, she can handle any opponent, whether you want to run around the ring, whether you are a small opponent with fast hands, whether you're a large opponent with a lot of power in your punches. It does not matter. Claressa Shields has seen every single style of fighting. Whether it's the fast fighters, the strong fighters, the ones who move around, the ones who like to stay in the middle of the ring, the ones who like to scrap and bang, the ones who are counter punchers, it does not matter. Claressa Shields has been in the ring with the best of them, and she has beaten them all. So she can handle any opponent as well. And all of these combine into what makes her the greatest woman of all time, the GWOAT. Now, she does have some weaknesses, not too many though, and I'm going to point to those weaknesses. So if I had to point to some, just for craps and giggles, she reacts too quickly to feints. And a lot of the times her opponents will throw feints and she'll react too quickly. So she'll have her stance and then they'll throw a feint and she'll twitch a little bit. And in my opinion, that could be something that Franchon Crews can use to her advantage. I'm going to talk about why later on in the episode. Her punches can be predictable. A lot of the times I see the classic jab and then right straight. Those punching combinations can be predictable, especially when she goes into the ring with certain fighters. They can predict that. They can go in there and they can prepare for that as well. So I will say she does have some combinations that are predictable as well. The jab can find success. If there's going to be one punch that I think you're going to clip Claressa Shields with, it's going to be that jab. I think you got to land it and throw it at the right time, which is another reason why it makes Claressa Shields such a hard opponent to beat. But a lot of the times, that jab is landing. And a lot of the times, the jab is finding home. And I do think that if there is a punch that Franchon Crews needs to establish in this fight, it's got to be the jab. And last but not least, movement can frustrate her. I saw in the Lainey Daniels fight. When she was fighting Lainey Daniels was doing a lot of moving around the ring. And don't get me wrong, it was frustrating for her, but it was frustrating for us as viewers because we wanted to see her engage more. But in those early rounds, she was doing a lot of movement, and you could tell that it was frustrating Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields ended up tracking her down eventually and ended up teeing off on her, landing some punches. But I do believe that if you can find a fighter with a lot of movement, a lot of fighter that can move from round 1 to round 10, it's going to be a problem for Claressa Shields. I do believe that's a way you can frustrate her, and you can establish a game plan from there. So as far as the strengths and the weaknesses and the overall breakdown of Claressa the GWOAT Shields, that is what I have. And so we talked about the GWOAT. Now it's time to talk about the diva, the heavy-hitting diva, Franchon Crews-Dezurn. Franchon Crews-Dezurn, obviously unified middleweight champion, 10-2. Franchon Crews-Dezurn, again, she's not too shabby herself. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I haven't seen a lot of film on Franchon Crews-Dezurn. I really couldn't find a lot of film on her, like, based off of what I was looking at. However, again, Franchon Crews-Dezurn, she's been in the ring with some good fighters as well. Fighters like Savannah Marshall and Shadeja Green, Claressa Shields, obviously. She defeated Shadeja Green. Obviously, she's a unified super middleweight champion. So we're going to talk about Franchon Crews-Dezurn and how she's gotten to this point in her professional career. If I had to point to a punch, I'm going to say the overhand right. The overhand right is a punch that Franchon Crews-Dezurn heavily relies on. And it's a good punch for her. Again, I wouldn't say it's a power punch, but it's a punch that's going to connect if she throws it. The other strength that I have for her is she's very sneaky to the body. She goes to the body a little bit differently than Claressa Shields. You see, Claressa Shields is going to wait for you to leave that body open and target it. So there's nothing surprising about it. If she sees the body open, she's going to take it. Franchon Crews-Dezurn, she's better at setting up going to the body. She's very sneaky at going to the body. Again, if we're going to have these inside exchanges, I'm going to hit you into the body. I'm not going to wait for you to put your guard up so I can land. I'm just going to go straight and throw straight to your body. And I think she's very sneaky to the body. I think she's very good at mixing up, going up top and going down. So she's very good with level changes. She's got a good jab. And again, that's important. As I mentioned with Claressa Shields, if there's a punch that she's susceptible to, it's the jab. And I think that Franchon Crews, who has a good jab, she's going to have to establish that. Another strength that I have for Franchon Crews-Dezurn is she's good at pushing her opponents back, just like Claressa Shields. So it's going to be interesting to see who pushes who back in this fight. Now, again, if we go back to the fight prior, it seemed like Claressa Shields was the one that was landing more efficiently, but it didn't seem like Claressa Shields was necessarily pushing her back. She was just landing more efficient punches on Crews-Dezurn, and both of those two were going punch for punch. And Crews-Dezurn landed some punches as well, but Claressa Shields landed the better version of the punches. She landed the best of her, and she got the win. So maybe this fight is going to turn out the same way. Maybe not. Maybe Claressa Shields is going to do more boxing. Maybe Franchon Crews-Dezurn picked up some things from those fights. And again, remind y'all, these two were also training together. So I do believe that these two know each other pretty well. So it's going to be interesting to see who picked up on more of the other one, whether that's Claressa Shields picking up on Franchon Crews-Dezurn or vice versa, whether that's Franchon Crews-Dezurn picking up on Claressa Shields. But regardless, She's very good at pushing her opponents back, and it's going to be interesting to see if she can do that against Shields. She got decent movement. Now, I'm not going to say that she's this super fast fighter and she's very good at cutting these angles and everything, but she's good at movement. She's very good at moving around. I do believe that she was very good at super middleweight, and I'm going to be pretty interested to see how she moves around at heavyweight. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. But overall, I think she's got some decent movement. I believe that if she uses that in this fight, she establishes it early, she can find moments where she frustrates Claressa Shields. She's sneaky with her feints. That's going to be the most important one right there, is how good are you going to be at forcing Claressa Shields to open up? She's very sneaky with her feints. She's very good at just sneaking punches in. And a lot of that has to do with feints. A lot of it has to do with Franchon Crews-Dezurn making it look like she's going to throw one punch and throwing something else. So I will say she's very good with feints. Now, as far as the weaknesses with Franchon Crews, she got 2 losses, 1 to Savannah Marshall, 1 to Claressa Shields. Now, if you're going to have 2 losses in the professionals, those are some 2 good opponents to have some losses to. But she lost to Savannah Marshall by majority decision. She lost to Claressa Shields by unanimous decision and only, I believe, a 4-round fight. And we're going to talk about some of those weaknesses that show. So, counter hooks. If there's going to be one punch that you can land on Franchon Crews-Dezurn, it's going to be that counter hook. That counter hook is a punch that gets landed on her. And I believe the reason why is because usually when she throws a punch, she leaves herself open. So I will say that the counter hooks are an easy punch to land on Franchon Crews-Dezurn in those types of moments. Frustrated by movement. Again, if another opponent has movement, and Claressa Shields, she got a little bit of movement of herself. If her opponent has movement, you can see where it frustrates her. You can see how she's chasing that opponent. And that's not a good thing to do against Claressa Shields. The last thing you want to do is chase Claressa Shields miss, and then she clips you with something. She leaves her body open. I do believe that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Claressa Shields to land some punches to the body. And then last but not least, sometimes she gets undisciplined. Specifically, I'll give you an example. There was the Claressa Shields fight and the Corneo fight, from the ones that I've seen at least, where she got frustrated and she would throw her opponent on the ground. Stuff like that could result in you losing a point. It's definitely going to result in you getting a warning from the referee. But those are undisciplined moments from Franchon Crews-Dezurn that she cannot be doing in this fight against Claressa Shields. We're going to start off with the keys to victory for Claressa Shields. What is Claressa Shields going to have to do in this fight to defeat Franchon Crews-Dezurn? The first key to victory I'm going to have is use your counter hooks. Like I said, if there's one punch that she's susceptible to, it's the counter hook. Use it. There's going to be moments where she's going to be chasing you. You land that hook, especially with heavyweight Claressa Shields' power, and you could potentially get a knockdown, maybe even a knockout against Franchon Crews-Dezurn. So I will say that is the first key. The second key is tag her with the jab and the straights when she is coming forward. Again, another punch that you can use when she's coming forward. Look, Claressa Shields is very good when it comes to using the jab and the straight. I already mentioned those are her 2 best punches. I want to see her use those punches efficiently in this fight against somebody like Franchon Crews-Dezurn. And I believe that if you're going to use it against Franchon, if you're going to use it against the Diva, I believe that the best chances you're going to have is when she's coming forward and she's missing those shots. And then last but not least, target the body on inside exchanges. That's what Claressa Shields is going to have to do. She's going to have to target the body. Again, she's going to give you those moments where she's going to guard up top. You got to target that body. And like I said, the body is going to be open. There's going to be opportunities for Claressa Shields to land and target to the body. And I believe that she's going to have to do it in this fight in order to get this win. And those would be the 3 keys to victory that I have for Claressa Shields. Now, the 3 keys to victory for Franchon Crews-Dezurn. Now, most likely Franchon Crews-Dezurn getting a win, it's going to be unlikely. But if there's going to be 3 keys that Franchon Crews could use to get this upset win against Claressa Shields, then the first one I would like to see is use your feints to create openings. Again, like I said, Claressa Shields, sometimes she can be very twitchy. Use your feints, force her to open up, and land some lead punch. Land a lead power punch. Clip her with a counter. She might fall for one of those feints, throw a careless punch, and you can clip her there. So I will say the feints are going to be very important for Franchon Crews-Dezurn. The second key to victory I would have is use your movement and move around the ring. So if you can do similar to what Laney Daniels did, maybe not to the extent. You can't just move around and expect to win a round. But if you can move around the ring a lot, force Claressa Shields to try to track you down, maybe clip her in the middle of your movement, I do believe that you're going to have a good chance of possibly winning some rounds against Claressa Shields. Limit or eliminate that right hand. If you take away the right hand on Claressa Shields, you took away 60% of her offense, and all you have to do is focus on 40. I believe if you can take away that right hand, if you can limit the right hand, if you can eliminate that right hand, then you have more of a 50-50 fight than you think. And a lot of fighters that fight Claressa Shields, the one thing that they don't do, they don't eliminate that right hand. They just hope that they're going to avoid it, dodge it, slip out the way, move around from it. No, you have to eliminate the right hand. And the way to do that, again, target the inside, trap her right hand, force her to throw that right hand in careless situations. Again, that's the way you're going to eliminate that right hand. Make it to where that right hand is not in effect, to where she can't land that right hand, to where she's not comfortable throwing it, to where she's forced to second guess it. To me, if you can eliminate the right hand, you have a 50-50 chance at beating Claressa Shields. And to me, that would be the 3 keys to victory that I would have for Franchon Crews-Dezurn. And so we go to the betting odds. Claressa Shields is the obvious favorite at minus 2,400, while Franchon Crews-Dezurn is the underdog at plus 1140. These odds are presented by FanDuel, and they are subjected to change as the fight comes forward. So, with all of that being said, what is my final prediction? Who I got winning this fight? Well, to be honest with you guys, this is going to be a tough one. Psych. It's not going to be a tough one because I can't see any woman boxer defeating Claressa Shields. And even if you do, I always have this rule. In order to be the champ, you have to be the champ decisively. You have to beat them decisively. It's as simple as that. In women's boxing, you got to win 7 rounds out of 10. Do I think Franchon Crews can win 7 rounds out of 10 to defeat Claressa Shields in the judges' eyes? No. And the reason why is because there's some of the tools that it takes to defeating Claressa Shields that Franchon Crews has, such as a good jab, using those feints. But there's other tools that I think she lacks that it's going to take somebody else, such as the movement. I do believe she got decent movement, but I don't think it's going to be good enough like a Laney Daniels movement to where it's going to be a factor. And so for me, I do believe that Franchon Crews has some weaknesses that Claressa Shields can take over, such as the counter hooks, such as body openings, getting undisciplined. I do believe those things are going to come to effect, and I do believe that Claressa Shields is going to take advantage of them. I got Claressa Shields by 7th round KO. I think Claressa Shields is going to feel her out for the beginning rounds. I think she's going to definitely pick up steam as the fight progresses. I think Franchon Crews is going to hang in there. I think she's going to show a lot of heart. But I think in the 7th round, I think it's going to be a TKO victory. Maybe no knockdown, but I think that it's going to be a TKO victory. I think Franchon Crews is going to take enough damage to where the ref is going to stop the fight, and Claressa Shields is going to retain her undisputed heavyweight championships. So for me, that's my prediction. Claressa Shields, 7th round TKO. And with all that being said, it's time for us to log off. Again, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. Make sure y'all continue to tune in to us on the YouTube, the podcast platforms, the social medias as well. Again, we got some great content. We got some content that we're bringing back, such as the Puncher's Point magazine, and it's revised, it's updated like never before. We got some interactive content that we're going to be releasing. Again, pound for pound list. We got a bunch of new things for the new season, bunch of new things for the new year as well. So if y'all do not tune into the Puncher's Point weekly, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point weekly. Make sure y'all tune into us daily. Again, we're going to keep on dropping some fire content for y'all. And last but not least, make sure y'all continue to tune into Claressa Shields versus Franchon Crews-Dezurn, February 22nd in Detroit. And make sure y'all continue to stay on point with the Puncher's Point.